meeting to order, and things I guess do the moment of silence first. And please remember Jennifer. She needs our prayers, and she's been with us a long time, and so let's bring her back. Thanks. Wait for you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For public comments, I'd like to announce what we have discussed in our closed sessions. First off, a new acting manager. We're very excited, and in 2 months, the desire is to make her manager. Hopefully, that's even better.
Thank you very much.
The next is a motion or a discussion we had concerning possibility of analysis of what we do with the nautical value. And we have made a decision to, upon looking at it, hire a firm that would look at the ability of what that asset is truly worth to the time, how long will it be worth that amount, and if it's a better way for us to look at it. So I think there was a request for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we look at how to maximize the revenue off of this particular asset with 2 of the commissioners working with Christine to check references on the consultant, and if satisfied.
Second. Have a motion and a second. More discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It passes. Next, public comment.
Alex Aaron.
Alex Arab, 821 North Anderson Boulevard. Thank you guys for serving. Thinking back a year, you guys did everything, and we really appreciate it. We've made through a lot of difficult decisions, and now we're moving forward. My comments today are directed toward the personnel policy manual that you all posted. And these are based on my experience working with human resources organizations and large employers. And there are basically 2 areas that I've looked at. On page 28, under section 7, workers' compensation, the statement is that if there's a claim, it can be filed within 2 years of the date of injury. Second paragraph. According to the state form that you file, Form 18 is supposed to be within 30 days. So I think having 2 years in there is a little bit, it's some liability on the town's part to leave it open that long, because you could have an employee who is no longer here, and then a year after they are not here, they could file a workers' comp claim because maybe they can't get medical insurance or whatever reason. So there's more potential for fraud, I think, if you leave the window open for longer than 30 days, which is the state standard. I'm happy to share this with you guys. And then the second is regarding compensatory leave, page 15. I read through the entire document and I didn't see any mention of when the employment ends, what happens to the compensatory leave, if it is paid out or if it disappears, and that may be something that you would want to address. The other thing that I saw was that you allow the employees to carry up to 30 days leave vacation. The compensatory balances are much higher than that. Now, there is a provision that the town manager be notified, so I think that's really good. But the employees can actually accrue up to like 12 weeks of compensatory leave, which seems like a lot to me, but I would have to defer to you all because of things like hurricanes or renourishment. There may be times when you want the employees to work extra and not necessarily pay them overtime. But that's something that I noticed were the 30 days on the workers' comp versus 2 years, and that there's no mention of what happens to compensatory leave when employment ends, whether it be by termination or downsizing, or they leave on their own. So I would suggest you guys take another look at that. Thank you.
Kim Pizzi.
And busy 2121 Shoreline. Two things. Number one, I want to give special recognition to some of Sam's guys and thank them for how hard they are working. I think we need more cops, especially with the crowds that we've been having, but special recognition from all of us to Javier, to Shane, and to John. They really go above and beyond, and I do want to recognize them for that. So thank them. For us, we thank them when we see them, but just for public recognition. And second thing, just a concern about the garbage, and I know it's brandy new, but down at our neck of the woods, there was one truck picking up both cans and putting it in the same location of the opening. So it wasn't like a segmented truck, which has been suggested maybe that's what it was, but that's not what we saw. But bigger than that is the amount of garbage that is generated, especially in the South End parking lot. So I just want to tell you that by Friday of this past weekend, the cans were already overflowing. Saturday, as you recall, was a good day, but we had the threat of the storm. So by Saturday evening, those cans were so full that with some help from Joe, who's doing a great job too, so kudos to him, pulling down all the straps on those cans because the crap was blowing all over the place and we were picking it up and trying to get it in there. So one, if they're going to be not having straps on these cans, we have to have a means of removing full garbage from those garbage cans. And it's probably not just at the South End, it's just I happen to live there, so I see it more, but all the ocean accesses in places where there's volume. Oh.
Good evening, Ross Tinkle, 1701 South Anderson Boulevard. Just want a couple comments on the fiscal year 25 budget. I spoke a couple of meetings ago regarding my support of the public safety building and my thoughts on the state of the fire and EMS protection in Topsail Beach. For those of you who might have missed that or don't know me, I got 42 years in the fire service. The first 7 were in the volunteer fire department. In a community similar to this, a little larger, beach town, fishing town, end of an island, 10,000. The last 35 was a career fire department, firefighter in Maryland. The last 9 of those I was in command position, in an administrative role and operational roles, budgets, and the divisions of the department, built fire station. So I looked at the fiscal year 25 budget and I offer these thoughts as it relates to the public safety. Regarding the public safety building, I'm disappointed that the funding was cut to just the grant money and the accrued interest. The done deal is over. I believe that in doing so is short-sighted and a missed opportunity to build what is actually needed. You've left no room for expansion or for service in the future. It'll be real hard to come back in a timely manner to meet the needs of this community. The service is going to need to expand. You don't realize it yet, but it's going to happen. Regarding the removal of the firefighter positions, I was disappointed to see the cut. Actually, disappointed as Steve thought. I was shocked. Last time I spoke at this podium, I stated that I believe that firefighter staffing, and I stated as a subject matter expert, that firefighter staffing at the Topsail Beach Fire Department was unsafe for both firefighters and the public, and that the ability to deliver effective, timely fire protection was limited due to inadequate staffing and our geographic location, and that the state of adequate EMS services here in Topsail Beach in name only. Let me stress that no one person is to blame for this. It's a reality that in the past, the Topsail Beach could staff a volunteer fire department that could meet the needs. Times have changed. Now demographics have changed. A career fire department is now needed to meet the demand for service. That fire department needs to be adequately staffed to be effective. Volunteer fire department will not be that. Chief Fussell and the board had a plan in place to improve firefighter staffing over time. The overall plan, while not perfect, was a good first step. I could live with that, knowing that in the future, staffing could be revisited. The plan included an additional firefighter position in fiscal year 25. This firefighter position was cut, pushing improved staffing even further out. If you're going to develop a multi-year plan, but not fund the out years, you might as well not have a plan. There's a plan in name only, developed to satisfy an immediate outcry and not actually address the need. The facts and opinions, some facts. Understaffed fire apparatus result in firefighter deaths. Fact. Understaffed fire apparatus result in additional civilian fire deaths. Fact, understaffed fire apparatus result in additional property loss. Fact, under-resourced EMS service, both BLS and paramedic service, result in unnecessary civilian deaths. Here's my opinion. Residents of our town do not understand the level of fire and EMS service that is provided in Topsail Beach. The visitors and guests of our town have an expectation of service that they have no clue does not exist. We, the residents, have a right to know how well or not we are protected. The town should conduct a staffing and response time study to either confirm my concerns or make me crow. I'll do that too, if I'm wrong. My goal is simply to ensure that the staffing response and level of service information is provided to and understood by my fellow residents so that we can make an informed decision with regards to public safety needs and funding. I get it that no one likes to raise taxes, but being so fiscally conservative that you would not fund basic public safety needs is probably not what the taxpayer would want. Give them the facts and ask them. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone? I had one, comment that came in to be read tonight. It was from Chris Norris. And he was, asking, since the site then now is under protection of conservation protection, would the driving on the beach be eliminated? That's something for future discussion by this board and also cooperation with the state management. Yeah, another thing happened. I got a request over the past few days of a statement that was included in our press release concerning managers change. And this good request. It was a vague statement that I made, and it had to do with a sustainable model of growth for this time and how it honors and respects the unique culture of our time. I think it boils down to what we've all been working for. How do we keep this time a small book atmosphere? And I responded and wanted to clear it with them. The person asked me a question, but I also wanted to break it out in public. Topsail Beach is a very unique coastal town. It has a history of being of lesser value. Each community as compared to its sister communities in Wrightsville Beach and Carolina Beach. This perception has led to our successful reputation of Bayberry Valley City, a good thing. The desire to maintain our low-key atmosphere is one of the goals that have been carried forward from board to board. And it is this feeling that our residents and property owners have openly supported. How to sustain this low-key atmosphere is a challenge in today's world. The pressures related to sewer, development, redevelopment, beach nourishment, and increasing costs are real and must be addressed. Townwide sewer is being evaluated with a concerned eye on the impacts of the lifestyle of the town, together with the accompanying astronomical cost. No decisions have been made, and we will continue monitoring the effects of septic system failure due to groundwater rise. Zoning, while protecting property rights, must address density and prevent overloading of our infrastructure and adversely affecting our small town atmosphere. Our county land use plan is updated regularly and contains goals and policies that reflect those values that we have in the town. Our longstanding goal of beach nourishment and fine protection is paramount to our ability to live and enjoy on this island. Our goal to maintain the inlet and replenish the sands on the beach has been a priority as known by our 30-year plan and funded through a separate tax. With the uncertainty of federal FEMA program, our approach and funding must be evaluated in the near future. Without FEMA help, a major storm could cripple our time, as was shown, in Hurricane Bertha and Fran, that completely destroyed the frontal dune and impacted most of the oceanfront and internal properties. Our time budget must reflect the needs of the community and the cost of meeting those needs. Our town provides police, fire protection, water utility, beach nourishment, and time maintenance and administration. At this time, employee costs and the provision of the desired services are at a near balance, which is a good thing for us to be looking at. With the exception of a new fireman position, I do not anticipate additional staff in the foreseeable future. My sustainable mode statement is reference to the understanding of the town's desired services and the cost to provide these services. Given that the town has reached a balance and no new services are required by the residents, our only variable is cost. In my mind, we can sustain current levels of service with only the adjustment required by the cost of doing business. Please note that should FEMA funds be eliminated, all bets are off. And I would like to give a good thing of our employees here and our staff. Gosh, they do a great job, but a lot of people hardly notice them. And there's a reason for that. I think the analogy was if you go to a 5-star restaurant and you go for the experience of food, but yet you come back and the experience of the food was one thing, but the service was impeccable. And you hardly knew the staff was there. And so I think that's what we can look at in our time, that they do such a good job that you hardly notice that they're doing the work. So kudos for them. Okay. That is the nearest minute, a little bit longer than we're done. Yeah, just to let you know, I'm going to join in with John. Yes, that, I'd like to stay with him on the board for another 2 years to help him go on. So I'm hoping I'll get the support of the town to move forward and continue. Okay, the approval of the regular agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
A second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Approved. Conflict of interest. Can we start with you, John?
Yeah.
No. 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 No conflict of interest. Approval of the consent agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as written.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. We're moving to that. Public hearing, unscheduled. Let's go right into, update from the Parks and Recreation Board.
I'm reading this as a report from Cindy Aber, which I was handed about 15 minutes ago, so bear with me. The Parks and Rec Board appreciates the opportunity to explore funding options to finance improvements at Town Center. We reached out to the Recreation Resource Center at the North Carolina State University and the North Carolina Division of Parks and Recreation. We look forward to sharing with you whatever we learn. The board continues to review the town's website as it pertains to tourism and parks and recreation. The board recognizes the town is not in a position to provide parks and recreation programs, services, and activities. However, there are several local organizations that provide recreational and educational activities for the public. We are working with town staff to refresh the contents on the site, to remove information that is outdated and include information that highlights our facilities, amenities, and events, as well as links to the park and recreation opportunities offered by others, such as educational hikes offered by the Coastal Land Trust and Save the Point. 3 of our board members plan to spearhead the beach sweep this coming Saturday at access points 1A, 10, and 16. In addition to our efforts, the board welcomes several volunteers with Conserve the Point who will sweep the beach around the point. Their participation increases our reach of this program. We are grateful for all of our volunteers, and the board wishes to express our gratitude to Tom, as well as the residents and visitors who help keep our beach clean. The board will continue to review the participation and efforts of our periodic beach sweep event and the condition of our beach. Questions?
What time is it? Should we-
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks so much. Update of planning board.
All right,
So at our June 26th regular planning board meeting, Wes McLeod with Anchor Point Planning, no longer with the COG, he has started out on his own, presented our Camel land use plan that has been tabled since last year.
Bring that right in. Wow.
Wes is no longer with the COG. He is out on his own now, and he is Anchor Point Planning.
Good for him.
So, but he presented our Camel land use plan that has been tabled since last year. And the planning board unanimously voted to recommend the current plan with a few minor changes, just to update it to, the 2025 instead of it being 2022. And updating the board and staff and things like that go with it. So he's gonna have a memo for us at our next meeting, for our August commissioners meeting, but he is going ahead and sending it to, CAMA so that they can review it, and which could take up to 90 days. And then we'll bring it back here for the public hearing. And our next planning board meeting is scheduled for July 23rd at 10 a.m.
Any questions?
To say I'm disappointed to hear that Wes has left. That's the second experienced plan we have lost from COG the last a year or so.
He's basically doing the same thing. He's just doing, like Jason Dale has done when he left CAMA. So they're doing the same things, just on their own instead of.
Cost of business just went up.
Yeah.
I wish him well.
Yeah.
Very talented.
And just to add to that, the town did actually contract with him and his new company to at least finish the land use portion. So that portion is not going through the COG any longer.
Hey, the BIF.
I am going to be reading that for Mr. William Snyder, who cannot attend tonight, but he sent me a lengthy one to read. First of all, the BIS committee did welcome Commissioner Betts as the newest member on that committee, so welcome to him. The balance in the BIS fund at the end of May was $5,427,329. Connie did notify them that as of June 24th, the closeout report for Hurricane Isis has been approved, and the balance of FEMA reimbursement in the $383,000 should be received shortly. We've not received that yet, but we're still waiting for that. The pre-hurricane season beach and inlet surveys by TA Coastal have been completed and posted on the town's website. They're always updated when we get them. TA Coastal will proceed with updates to the 30-year beach management plan that reflects the approved 25-26 fiscal budget, and the plan will then be submitted to Coastal Resource Committee for review and approval. The contract for Vitex removal, my favorite subject, has been awarded to Michael Baker International. He says Christina Burke will continue coordination and update everyone on that. Just today, we've gotten the final language on the contract, so hopefully we'll be able to sign that contract by the end of the week, hopefully, and that will get rolling. We are definitely delayed in that project. The committee reviewed and discussed a meeting with Jack Best, Senior Legislative Assistant to Congressman Rouser. Items discussed included the push to be able to use federal FEMA funds to dredge within a COBRA zone and place that material outside of the COBRA zone. State legislative issues that the committee reviewed included proposed regulatory reform that could impact coastal resource management, funding a proposed oyster lease study, and a proposal to extend flounder and red snapper fishing season that was tied to a potential ban on inshore trawling for shrimp. The committee also discussed the issue of getting channel markers reestablished now that the dredging has been completed. Chris Gibson with TI Coastal quoted dates that soundside surveys were conducted by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, but that the U.S. Coast Guard would need to be contacted to schedule the remarking of these channels. The green channel markers across from the Assembly Building and across from Banks Channel need to be replaced. The next BIS meeting is scheduled for Thursday, July 17th at 2 o'clock. And thanks, everyone.
I would add that, our North Carolina Congressman in Washington DC, David Rouser, is involved and fully aware of all of these issues. He's looking intently at the Cobra issue. It's before him on his desk. He understands it. And along with what the North Carolina legislature has recently done with banning inshore trawling, will pay dividends for generations for both non-trawling commercial fishing and sport fishing in our state, as we have seen from Virginia, South Carolina, Florida, Texas, Louisiana. So I'm very upbeat about all of these changes that are coming.
So is it our responsibility to contact Coast Guard?
Well, TI Coastal has done that on our behalf, but certainly that's something that the town can also do
Yeah.
too.
I know that
So
they're
you
slow
things
anyway.
along.
They're slow.
They
anyway,
are.
but I didn't know maybe if we could put a budget. Maybe that
Squeaky wheel. Yeah.
So go to the public work.
Evening. First off, rinsing station usage for the month, 10,400 gallons total. That's through all 4 of the rinsing stations. That's a significant increase from the month before, which we were expecting, which is still really not, dropping the bucket for us. Staff completed 2 water taps for the month. The mini excavator was ordered on July 1, about 6 weeks out, on that. Park was decorated for the 4th of July. We've also started roping off the empty lot, where the new building is going due to parking concerns, with the paid parking now. We were seeing some people parking there. Of course, we opened that up on Thursdays for the, beach market. The third, Topsail Sounds banner that we got, we had some issues with the install. We put that at the north end up by 1A. So now all 3 of those banners have been put out. All of the surplus items were sold except for the old gas pump. Not sure, didn't even get a single bid on it. We're going to get that reposted. The porta potty cleaning at the south end parking lot, we increased that from 2 times a week to 3 times a week, just due to lots of complaints and concerns. I don't know if it's going to help any, but we're trying, doing what we can. We just got a order of 93 street signs in. So these are the engineer grade reflective signs that we need to be in compliant. Only about, I'd say, half of them are up to code right now. So we're going to start working on those. Coastal dock builders are on site at the seawall on the south side of Drum, repairing from the Surf Cities dredging project. I'm not sure how long they're going to be there, but they started setting up this week. We met with Jeff Garrett, who is the Pender County engineer for the NCDOT, discuss the stormwater issues. It's been a hot topic. A few takeaways were, one thing I found out was that the DOT is only responsible for the storm drains in the right of way. So anything that is off the right of way, the outfalls on private property, they do not service. But the good thing is the infiltration basins that historically we had paid for to clean, I kind of held his feet to the fire, and going forward, they're going to be cleaning those out yearly instead of us having to do it. That will allow us to reallocate some of the money we have budgeted for stormwater elsewhere. Maybe cleaning out some of those outfalls, maybe cammering some of the outfalls to see exactly what we're dealing with. WK Dixon is going to be holding another workshop for stormwater on August 26th. That'll be from 4 to 6 p.m. This will be the same format they used last time, except for this time we'll be focusing on recommended improvements. I want to remind everyone that this is not a presentation. They'll have storyboards set up, and this is more of them being here to answer questions that, you know, the public may have. And they will probably have a full presentation at the October meeting to the board. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
We have, public works people on the weekend that pick up garbage, is that
We do.
still, so, cause just referencing the public comments, what cans being full. I know they do it at my access, I see them every
Yeah.
Saturday out there. Any reason why it would have an overflow? with
I'm
these
not
others?
sure. That was the first I'd heard of that. So, I made a note.
Is
that
someone here on Sunday as well?
Saturday and Sunday, we have 4 hours each day.
Yeah, well,
So our own call person's here 4 hours Saturday, 4 hours Sunday, and on holidays as well.
and the other question I had was, did we clean those drains out twice a year,
We did them once a year.
just once?
Yeah.
In the spring?
Yes, we did them, this year in April.
Yeah.
We were a little late. The previous year was like in June and it was traffic. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm actually meeting with him next week. He wants to go out and I sent him the list of the locations with the, coordinates and everything, but he wants to actually put boots to the ground and see everything. So hopefully, so that'll allow us to reallocate some money to maybe some of the actual drains.
Are they evaluating the outlets as well for those?
So I'm going to take him around to the outlets, but like I said, if it's not in the right of way, if it's on private property, then it's up to either the homeowner or some of them are, like I know there's one at Nixon. There's one in Florida, there's a couple that's on town property that, you know, we can now focus our attention on those instead of spending the money on the infiltration basins, which are very outdated. There's new technology involved, like we know what Surf City just did with their project.
You have a question?
Tom, you mentioned the gallons of water used.
Yes.
At the rinsing stations, and that was questioned when we put in those rinsing stations. Was it gonna be overuse of water? I happened to be sitting out on my deck watching over the Darden access a good bit this past weekend, 4th of July, a lot of traffic up and down the steps there. And a lot of people using the showers, and I saw no inappropriate use of it at all. They, you know, we had asked would there be horseplay and stuff like that. There wasn't any of that. People just used the shower and then took off to their cars. So I think they appreciate having that there.
I remember maybe 8 or 9 years ago, before we put in the stations, I was just watching and this lady was taking her baby and dumping him in the cooler. It told her. Come a long way. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
Okay, discuss, consider, and vote on resolution of intent to close the end of the big cement.
As you know, we have discussed this, the last couple of months since March. This first was brought up. The Soundside property owners adjacent to the end of Nixon Avenue have requested to have a short segment of the road at the end of Nixon closed in an effort to stabilize their shoreline. We've had discussion on this. This was actually sent back to the planning board and, the planning board sent it back to the board of commissioners. Of course, we've had a couple of heavy agendas the last couple of months, so we've put this on the back burner, but this is now back up for discussion, and I am not sure if Mr. Price. You're the only one here? Absolutely. Come on.
Quickly remind the board of joining before you is whether or not to issue a notice of a hearing on whether or not close the street. I'm not actually taking action tonight. Actually closing the street.
That's correct. The item before you, or the issue before you right now is a resolution, and that resolution would be to hold public hearing so that we can gain public feedback. So it would not be any action if we actually didn't move forward or taking any road for that. So that is the issue ahead of you. And I'm sorry, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Tommy Newton. My address here is 608 North Anderson Boulevard. I happen also to be one of 3 people who own 620 Nixon Avenue. And so, then the other person that's in the petition on 619, none of them, all of them had out of town obligations. So I got elected to come here tonight, like you did. I really don't have a presentation. We talked about this a lot. I don't know if Ms. Burke, shared with you the email that Mr. Trice sent you
The
recently.
updated letter or?
Yes.
Yeah. If you have that in
Dated
your
June
mind.
19th. Okay. So you have that, so I don't need to read that. So you know that after the last, meeting, we had a task to go and look into the pedestrian easement. That was one of the issues. And so Mr. Trice actually consulted two different attorneys, and the decision was made that we would support the resolution as has been written and not oppose the pedestrian easement, continue with that. And then, so we support it as is was written initially. So anyway, I'll try my best if you have questions to answer questions.
And also we do have Stephanie Moore here, town planner, information on the subject as well.
Can you tell everyone again what you've done to allow access to all the adjoining homeowners on Nixon?
That is, you're referencing the fact that all the properties will still have access.
Oh, yes, nothing's gonna change, nothing has changed from, whoops, excuse me. I usually have a freedom of speaking. Nothing has changed from what is in their deeds. So that everybody that's in Nixon 1 and Nixon 2 has the access that is granted in their deed. That's not gonna change.
Without an interview.
Without it, without anything, any other, nothing else. We're not pursuing anything else. Grant that easement, also, as it says in there, grant the town easements to get over there for anything. But what other, I defer to Stephanie.
Because I'm not talking to you, Tommy, I'm talking my main concern. Well, go ahead, you do a step, you're going to discuss
I
this.
actually just have a point of clarification because I know in the letter that you guys received, that Mr. Trice had said that I said that we were going to close off the street, which is, I know I have clarified this before, but I wanted to clarify again. The only thing that we would be doing, in that would be a fence with a sign on it that just said that it was the end of the road. And that you couldn't park on the pavement, which is what we have at several other of our street ends.
It kind of makes it unusable though, doesn't it?
No, not necessarily. They can still park in the right of way and, walk out to it. So it wouldn't be, I mean, it's a public trust area.
But it's kind of, that's not.
It wouldn't be like a fence that covered the entire area.
It only
It would-
depends at the end of the.
Yeah, it would just be at the end of the pavement and it would only say that it was the end of the road and they couldn't park on the pavement. So I just wanted to clarify that because I know in the letter that it said that I had said we were gonna close off the street. We're not closing off the street. If we maintain this, it's not closing off the street. It's just saying the same thing that we say at the end of several other streets on the canals. So.
Would there be room around the fence?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be, it would just be big enough for the sign to be on it.
It would, you wouldn't leave in public property to go in.
Right, they would still be able to walk around it.
If you can down there, it's really hard.
There is.
It's,
And is it correct to state that that this portion of Nixon has never been listed on any map or plat or document that as a public access?
It is not designated as a public access and never has been.
Sorry, which part?
the end of next.
The end of Nixon, it hasn't been designated as a public access. It's a public trust area, but it's not been designated as a public access.
My understanding is it's been designated though as a town street or a power mount. Which is actually more, public access.
And I think what we're meaning is that we have,
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, which is why you have to go through street closure procedure. It's a town street.
it is in fact that, but we do have a list of public accesses that we advertise, for the public, if they want to come down and say, hey, where can I park as far as public access? And what amenities might be there at that public access? And in this particular case, Nixon has never been on that particular list. So yes, public can go there. It's just not advertised as a public access. It's not named, given a number, that type of thing.
What will happen if you elect to close it? The part that's being closed, you put a line right down the middle. The owner of 619 is going to own one half, the owner of 620 is going to own the other half. That will extend all the way to the water. At that point, they will be the riparian owners, the ones that have almost exclusive rights of access to and from Topsail Sound, subject to whatever are private access rights, not public, but private access rights that may exist by virtue of any kind of an easement that they may have, which of course the town has no involvement in any of that. We don't govern that. We have no control over that.
Could Mr. Coggins, you clarified that we're discussing a public hearing on this? Why is the agenda say consider and vote on a resolution to close the end of Nixon, and everything in this resolution states close in the resolution?
Resolution is the whole hearing.
Stating to close it.
No, you're having a hearing on whether or not to adopt that resolution.
We're not voting on this resolution.
Yes, you're voting on that.
I'm just trying to clarify, because the agenda says to vote on the resolution. The intent to close the end of South Nixon.
My main concern is, well, I've had several residents say, just like, they hate to see us the town give up any kind of access to that property, because if we don't ever know in the future what needs to happen. I know that, I'm saying, when we do have sewer, we'll have to have a lift station somewhere to put that stuff back up the road. I'm not saying that's where it's going to be, but it's a good chance that may be some of the places that we need to do. I checked with Greg Martin, who that group works with, and they've got a proposal to put a fence across there. I said, what would it cost us as a town to do that 15 feet? I think he said $250 a foot. So it'll be about $3,000 some. He said that pipe would have to be replaced. Whether we do it right, it's going to be about $1,000. So we're talking about $5,000 to probably get that fixed up at the end. So it would be a lot better situation than what we have. So that then we would still have all rights to that property, have access to it, and it would accomplish what I'm reading. They want to get accomplished is for that to be a lot better situation as far as liability, or easier to get a more safer way to get access down to that water, for whether it's be the people on that street or other people that would want to use that particular property there. And it'll stop the erosion. So I mean, I just think it'll be a good thing for the town as a good citizen to be able to do that. And still, we end up with the same result, but we don't lose any of our ability to have whatever we need that land for in the future.
All right, Tom and I were down there today. We rode down this afternoon. The erosion is worse from the time that we went, and met Tara and everybody there.
So I don't have a problem with stopping the erosion. I just think, for that expense, I mean, if it was $50,000, I'd say for $5,000, and that's what he's telling me, then we would, we could solve that, eliminate what their concern is, but also be able to keep our access to that property, so that in the future, if we do need it for anything, it wouldn't be a situation where we have to get through a bunch of complications. We get used to it all.
So let me, Dr. Bell, so go back, and it's actually in this, and I was not there. But to give you more background, the property that's 620, that three folks own, because of the erosion problem there, Mr. Trice had a person from CAMA, the rep there, to investigate what the best options were to help that. His first question was about riprap. And that the person said actually a bulkhead would be better. And Mr. Trice called Ms. Burke and said, would you like to have somebody from the town come? Because what we do there on our property will affect that 15-foot area there that's already eroded. It would increase that. So that's when Stephanie go down there. I wasn't at that meeting. So anyway, we're gonna do that on our property anyway. And I think whatever he said, she said, I don't know. But anyway, the idea was that if we get deeded this property, we'll take care of we'll be responsible for putting the bulkhead up, backfilling it, taking care of the drain, taking care of what we need to do and maintain.
Yeah, but we said, we lose that lane.
You would, yeah, well, if we were gonna,
I'm not there, so future we may need. So by doing that, we're gonna accomplish the same thing you guys want to accomplish.
realistically, if you do that, you spend your money and do that, that's fine.
I can't tell people for $5,000, I think, I don't think that's a big expense for what, to maintain that lane and keep that lane.
And that's fine. I mean, that is within your prerogative to do. So after the discussion with Ms. Moore, she told him we would need to come petition to close the inn in order to do that. That's why it was done.
So my guess is y'all don't want to spend the money to do it unless you control that property, which I get. If the town spends the money to do it and accomplishes the same thing, are y'all basically indifferent?
As far as I'm concerned,
Okay.
yeah, I'm a whole other line of ways, so it really doesn't matter to me that much. The people that live there, the offices, they have a little different. I will tell you that I've been here 10 years and the maintenance of that area has been, nil. Unless we did it.
Yeah.
So that would have to change if you go do all that. That would have to change. The Austin's down on 619 are permanent residents, so you can imagine. I mean, we were going to make the effort to beautify it and keep it up. So our thought was, and what was presented to me is kind of win-win. 15 feet, that 15-foot corridor there, how much can you do with it, practically speaking? I don't know. But anyway,
This line, but how far this was?
it's about 60 feet, right?
So I'm just saying that's enough land that if the city needed to do something later in the future, that's land that we could, that might be needed at some point in time there.
Sure.
And it's just like saying if we're going to any other accesses down here, there's always a reason why at the one at the end of Empty, I know Miss Nancy would love to see that place closed down. You said that to me several times.
Yeah. It's because it's nasty.
Everybody wants to close it. Everybody wants to want people coming around their access.
Sure.
Well, Alex, this is a question to you in Parks and Recreation, as well. That, I requested a while back that, the PNR board look at all of our properties that have access to water, whether it be ocean or land, and give us a good understanding of what we have and what it could be used for.
Up to this point, we've only looked at the ocean side. We have not looked at the sound side yet.
But that's something that y'all can schedule.
I think it's like the next thing, but we kind of got sidetracked with the playground equipment or multi-use path and other things like that. Signage.
Yeah, that's something I thank you. I've been approached by a fair number of people and actually got a phone call, someone wants to close their road to their house. And how do they go about doing that? Oh, it's already, setting a precedent. That's terrible thing. Oh, no, what you? It was somebody else.
Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and see if we're gonna do the resolution or not. So I move that we schedule a public hearing to consider whether or not this activity is taking place.
I'm gonna add some more comments. I think it's our fault that we haven't maintained our town property.
Then please wait for a second.
Second,
Further discussion.
So let me clarify what you're asking, Don, is to go ahead to a public hearing about giving them the end of Nixon and letting them pay for it.
Yes, and then after that, we will have to make a decision on whether or not to approve this. This is just to hold the public hearing.
But it seems to me we should decide first, does the town,
We don't make it.
does the town do it?
And we can go decide that.
No, the public hearing would be on closing it, would it not? And if the town's gonna build the fence, would you, Mr. Huggins, need to have a public hearing on closing it? If the town's gonna build the seawall, it is a budget issue. Is it not?
That decision hasn't even been approached yet. I think we have a motion to push the resolution to a public hearing, and that's the only.
That's the only thing that's before you.
And so we can,
I want to have a public hearing on whether to close this thing at all.
Yeah.
You express some intent, at least interest in it, okay? And that's the way what the statute requires. You have to have this resolution that says that you have the intent to close it. But you're gonna have a public hearing first, in which you can decide to close it, not to close it. And if you do close it, impose any kind of conditions that's within your authority to do so. That could include anything about a seawall, a fence, rights of access, anything like that. Okay? In other words, you're not tying your hands whatsoever in terms of what
You
your
just
motivation. You're just simply having a public hearing. But after having that public hearing, you're gonna make a decision one way or the other.
So we can make a decision before they have, without having to have a public hearing.
No, you cannot make a decide, you cannot close a street.
Now, I'm not talking about closing, I'm saying if we decide we don't want to entertain the idea of closing down.
Oh, yes, yeah. In other words.
So I'm saying that if we can say, hey, we don't entertain.
No, where the motion,
you can deny the motion.
motion that has just been made could be defeated.
Yeah, we could deny the motion. The motion.
We don't have to have a public hearing.
Yeah, that was the issue.
What you're saying is under those circumstances, are you going to be closing the street?
Tim, sorry,
Okay.
again, I think we were negligent on maintaining that property, which is kind of sad, but, I've also heard that people use that property to go down there and watch sunsets. I mean, it is, and I agree 100% with Commissioner Bell. Those residents that pay taxes and want to use it for the future. We all know there's not a lot of lots left. Town doesn't own a lot of lots. I agree with Mr. Bell. I think for the money to save that piece of property for the town, for the future, why wouldn't we? And I think the whole thing, again, has come up because of our fault of not maintaining that property and keeping it safe as a town property. And I think that's the core issue that we should address and fix that versus citizens coming to us and trying to help us solve that problem.
Okay, that could be.
Historically, we have not lived up to any kind of expectation to maintain that property. And there's no guarantee going forward, even if we build this wall ourselves, that there'll be any better maintenance on that property. If we go ahead and, do the split, give the property to the people beside it, they will have to maintain it. And, believe that they will. If they have no responsibility for it, they're gonna say, wait, that's the town's job to do that. We're talking about a 15-foot wide strip of land here, which is not good for anything except walking from the end of the road to the water. And, they've made legal provisions that easements will allow that to everybody.
Only the people.
Only the residents in those subdivisions.
Okay, let's, all right, we have a motion and we have a second. Second. We deny the motion that doesn't get forward, and we can discuss right after whether we instruct, Public Works to get firm prices on repair. So,
Your motion now is put into whatever happens.
to have a public hearing on it. All in favor?
Aye.
To have a public hearing, that's it. I guess that was.
Yes, to have a public hearing.
To have a public hearing.
Yes.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion failed. And now the question, do we want to have, instruct Tom to, Public Works to get a better pricing on repairing?
Well, one thing, I don't know my problem with that, but I'm saying already, I know that this portion of already talking about the development's going through there. Why not go, I mean, for that amount of money, do we even have to have do we even have to put it up a bit?
Because he's building the seawall on either side, you really need the same person to in it.
We have to put it up a bit.
Yeah.
For that amount of money.
Yeah, well, we need to know what the cost is. I prefer to have a true cost so that it becomes public knowledge.
Yeah.
So let's, oh, that, I guess that's,
That makes
direction is board wants to go.
Hey, probably, yeah.
Okay, Archie was,
We'll just have to, make sure that the contractor they're using is qualified to do work for the town.
What would he have to do to be qualified to do work over there?
Be a licensed contractor and be insured.
He built my seawall, so I hope he is. He built Dr. Bell's, I hope he is.
Yeah, he's gonna do the work, I'm
Yeah.
not fine with the, fine with the.
okay, I can understand, it's a matter of, we can have it repaired and looking better. It's just, we don't want to transfer ownership.
Understood. I will make one comment.
Sure.
Comment was made, when people walk down there to see sunset. People don't walk on that property to see sunset. Can't see sunset from there because of the boats and other things. They walk on a private pier that belongs to the people of Six Point. And despite this fact, it's happened twice in this past week. But I'm sitting on the next pier looking at sunset. And there are two, not one, two private property, no trespassing signs that ignore that and have been told by the rental agencies that they have access to the people. That's not anything you can.
That's a sand issue.
Yeah, actually, one of the owners told me, I'm happy to call the place, let me just talk to you. So I did. Anyway, but people don't go to on down there, it's unsafe to walk in.
Yeah.
Quite frankly. And I will say, it's put a wall up there, better put some steps down there. Off the bulkhead, because you won't be able to get to the sand.
And you always drug you into that.
Okay, that's why we get paid big bucks.
Okay, discuss, consider and vote on personnel policy amendments, staff.
So, upon direction from the Board of Commissioners, the town contracted with the MAP Group in March to conduct a comprehensive pay and classification study for the town. As part of this work, the MAP Group also reviewed the town's current personnel policy and made recommendations to update the policy to be consistent with modern and effective human resource management and current laws and regulations. And in your packet, you received a copy of the proposed changes. There weren't very many. I don't know if you want me just to kind of run through the highlighted sections that were included in the packet. We can just go through them quite quickly, or if you have questions. It's up to you. I can, yes. So, on page 18, was the first one. That was really just, an update of the procedure that we actually use. Let's see, on 25, page 25. Sorry, I have it printed out here. That. Again, that was, a policy that we adopted at the end of 2024. So that
Page 25.
page 25. So that's just to be consistent with what the town's adopted policies is. On page 29, we struck out, section 12, which referenced short-term disability insurance. The town no longer offered that as of July 1st. On page 30, we basically moved the birthday leave from one section to another, just to put it in the correct section. On page 31, section 7, there was a provision in the policy that probationary employees were not allowed to take vacation leave during their probationary period. That's been struck out, so now they are able to take vacation leave during their probationary period. We have some employees that have a 12-month probationary period, so as you can imagine, that's a long time without having any availability of vacation time. Page 37, that was a legal requirement. And let's see, page 40, all of that yellow portion that struck out there, that's going to be a standalone internal policy. Thank you, Risha. That we're working on currently. So that'll just be taken out of there and be an internal policy. And then on page 42, that was the birthday leave where it was. We just moved it back up on page 30. So those were really all the changes that were suggested through this MAPS study.
So I'm not trying to prolong this any more than we need to, but since this is a discussion and consideration, where would Alex's two proposals come into this discussion and consideration?
Well, I will say, I don't know the rules on the 2-year workman's comp claims or 6 months or whatever that is. I'm assuming that if that wasn't changed, then that was legal, the way that it was written. I certainly can go back to the consultant and double check if you'd like for me to do that. I'm happy to do that. As far as the compensatory leave, we actually, it says that if it's accrued, we have an internal policy where we do not allow comp time accrual any longer. We did at one time, all staff members that had leave, comp leave, were paid out, and we no longer allow them to put comp leave on the books.
Did we just delete that section then?
I mean, we certainly could delete it. It
But we
just
don't
says,
have it, so it doesn't matter.
it just says if, so I'm assuming that that means if it does come up, then we have rules for it if it happens.
So I had one question in this on page 18, section 3, where we refer to when vacancies occur, the human resources officer shall publicize these, blah, 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 blah. And that was in the old one, but we don't technically have a human resources officer.
Well, we have someone who's designated as human
Okay,
resources
So
at all
that
times.
covers, is covered, okay.
Any other questions?
You gonna wait until we hear back from MAPS on this?
Yeah, if you want to continue this until next month and address Alex's question.
I am happy to do so if you'd like to postpone it. Were there any other clarifications that you would like? That one.
I think we probably add, just as a human relation, that it would be for an appointee by the manager.
Okay, just to clarify that language. Yes, sir.
We continue this, then do we need a motion about it to continue? Certainly more. I need a motion to continue this to next month.
Make a motion to continue it to next month to get clarification.
Second. Second. Have a motion to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Then-
Thank you.
Next one is discuss holding an agenda workshop Over the past few years, our meetings have really gone crazy. You know, 9 o'clock is a lot of times the only time you get home, and good night for you. So, I'm proposing proposing to the board that we have a workshop in the afternoon, before each meeting, a regular meeting, and allow us to, as a board, hopefully discuss matters without a vote. I think it'll help us, clarify some issues that we might have before we come to a voting meeting. And if there's questions or items that need to be collected or supplied by the staff, they would have time to get them to us. And, proposing that at lunchtime, and, as an incentive that we could have a brought-in sandwich, lunch, or pizza or something like that. That people get.
In the cost of the beach day. It's the cost of the middle of the beach day.
Well, when I proposed it in the morning, we thought it might be too early for the staff to be there for Monday. So anytime's fine, just I'd like to have the meeting.
I don't work, how about the two guys that still work?
I don't, I think we'll discuss this, I think, on a workshop or something. I don't mind an hour and a half meeting, but maybe we put this on the calendar and we cancel it if we don't need it.
Yeah, that's.
I really don't, I think, my experience, it was a heck of a year. And I don't remember ever having so many meetings for so long. I would hope that we work more efficiently and don't need to have 3-hour meetings. But in the event our agenda merits and we see a need to have these, I'm in favor of it.
Would attendance be required?
Well, it
Yes.
should be a public meeting. We have to have a
If
forum.
you can make it, you can.
It's easy to cancel the schedule.
Would your staff have time if we did it later in the day to deal with questions that might arise the next day?
I believe that we would.
The only other concern I have is we're gonna be having discussions on agenda items. And then when we have our regular meeting, will we not have discuss, Surf City does this. And during their workshops, they decide how the agenda is gonna go with the meeting. I kind of don't like that because I'd rather have our residents see us and hear the discussions like tonight that we've had. And will this deter that by having another meeting and having all of us decide what we're gonna do with the agenda?
Well, I don't know that the agenda workshop is to decide what's going to happen at the regular meeting. The agenda workshop, I think, is to work through any questions that may come about that need to be answered so that staff is prepared to answer those the night of the meeting, which would, hopefully deter any delaying of agenda items, which we've had happen. And, just kind of as tonight, take the personnel policy issue. Of course, that's one of that we public comment, but if these are things that we want clarification in advance, and staff able to have the time to find out those answers.
Yeah,
So that's the
I just
purpose.
think if there's a big topic that we're gonna spend more than a half hour discussing, then we have then maybe we don't do the whole agenda. Maybe we do topics that need to be discussed to eliminate time at our regular board meeting. But to solicit questions to you, I think maybe an alternative to that is to get the packet maybe earlier. I mean, the agenda is always a draft agenda and always changes. I mean, why can't we get the draft agenda earlier? And it's always going to change, but maybe that might eliminate some of the questions from the board to the staff.
We would just need direction from the board
I mean,
as to
maybe
when they would
that's
want to have that information provided.
Whatever it's worth, municipalities, other municipalities I represent, when they switched to this agenda method, the consensus was virtually unanimous that they ended up spending less total time in meetings than they did before they adopted the agenda. In other words, you're thinking naturally, another meeting. But in fact, you end up spending more time in meetings without the benefit of the prior preparation that goes in that agenda. That may be counterintuitive, but that was their experience, and they were thinking themselves into a while ago.
I know I was on the school board for 24 years. We always had a pre-agenda meeting. And I need to speak into your microphone.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying I was on the school board for 24 years and we had pre-agenda meetings and it made a big difference, especially, I mean, a lot of times there were some concern ideas, that you were able to get the information, like you said, but so when we came into the meetings, when we made our decisions, that information was available rather than having to delay it. And also it kept us from having some of these 3-hour discussions on things that should take 3 hours to discuss.
And also in addition to that, the theory would be that if the agenda workshops were warranted and this is where the board would like to go, then we would have you adopt a schedule for those meetings, so we don't have to advertise every single time. But we could certainly cancel them if they were not needed.
I like that concept.
And it was such that every board member didn't make every meeting.
But we do need a quorum to hold it.
You can put input into somebody or leave it to staff before they came in, so that they would roll at that time there too. I think we're trying. And like I said, if it doesn't work, you can always go back to the old way.
We'll give it a try.
Not trying, the option cancel.
And I'm not saying, it's 12 o'clock's not bad. I mean, not good. We can do it later in the day. I don't think you would have earlier in the day. I mean, we only did night meetings. People don't want to have night meetings.
Nancy? Out of vote, it's a consensus, what do we want to do? 3 o'clock? 3 o'clock? 3 o'clock?
Monday, when you,
Every Monday, we'll cancel at 3 o'clock. Agenda.
Like that.
of course, I'm sorry.
I'll be grateful if the town attorney could have put his agenda meetings up. I'll be attending myself.
I can't go as late as 3 o'clock. I always leave town no later than 3 on Mondays. So, you can make it 2 o'clock.
I work, I can't, I do a long before, so I can make that connection. There's no, it's not a vote, it's just a consensus, so let's give it a try.
Alright.
Can we schedule those?
We can, and what we can do is come up with a schedule that the board can adopt at the next meeting. We can even do it in consent agenda if you want to. Just to have that on record again, so that we don't have to advertise every single meeting. And we'll have that at the next meeting.
Manager, attorney report. Mr. Attorney, you'll go first. You've been busy.
I've been busy, I think, for the well. It's been a past month.
Can't hear you say.
Microphone.
We can't hear
It's been a very busy month. As I can recall, it's being included by town attorney, given the transition and issues in public safety building and other matters, and this is board well aware. Thank you.
Thank you for all your
Choose
help.
not for a little further, you need
The only thing I want to talk about is the transition from tons of trash to GFL. I do know that there are a lot of concerns and issues. And we've heard them all. We understand them all. I've been in contact with the general manager of GFL. He's been very responsive. He understands all of the issues. He's going to be talking with his team and getting back to me. So I'll be able to provide more feedback once I get it from him. But just know that, we appreciate your patience. We understand all of the issues. We've communicated that with them. We expect to see improvement with this. I will mention one thing, the straps on the trash carts. That's been a big issue. Unfortunately, the straps are not going to be allowed to stay. It's just the way that their trucks are. They take the straps off. I know that it's a concern that maybe trash is going to be blowing all over the place. I will tell you that North Topsail Beach and Surf City have not had straps on their trash carts for years. And, you know, so far it's okay. I'm sure there's isolated incidents, but I know that's a concern. That is just one of the things that we're going to have to deal with moving to a new company. But anyways, I hope to, see improvement on that in the next, week or two as we make this transition. So we appreciate your patience.
My raccoons in our neighborhood are very appreciative. It'll be a nightmare for them.
Christina, did we get parking revenue for the month of June yet?
We did, yes, and I will forward that on to you.
Okay.
I haven't, we didn't do an update, a manager's update this time, but we will do that in the future and I will update that.
Good numbers,
Yes,
yes.
better than we expected. Surprisingly.
Thank you again, welcome.
Thank you.
Public comments. We got the timer on.
Well, you better. I'm not gonna be here for the next couple of months. Does that mean that I get to do 3 minutes plus 3 minutes? Yeah. And as I say, I will not be here next month or the following month, so I just want to follow up on a few things. The green markers, I know that y'all were working on getting those back up. But I want to emphasize how important they are. Marker 3 and marker 5, which are sort of in front of my house, have been gone for quite some time now. And the way the boats are, and we also lost our sandbar a couple of years ago. And between those two things, losing the markers and losing the sandbar, it is having a tremendous negative effect on my waterfront at my house. The erosion at my seawall is incredible. We've owned the house for 70 years and I've never seen sand disappear as fast as it has because the boats are coming closer into the seawall because the markers aren't there showing where the channel is. And they're round and round and round, just throwing out biggest wakes that they can. And so the erosion has been terrible. And so I really, really want to emphasize how important it is to get those markers back up. The agenda workshop, I think, is a good idea. But I also wanted to talk about the closing of the street ends, which fortunately you're not going to do. Thank you to the 3 of you that voted against that. Like Nancy, I live right next to a public access. We have taken care of that access for over 70 years, kept it clean. When the seawall started caving in there and everything started caving in, we put up, my father paid to have at least 10 feet of that seawall put up. Now it looks like within the next couple of years, we're going to lose that seawall if we don't, if we keep having the erosion. I'm going to tell you right now, we're not paying for extra 10 feet that we did before. So I think to close any kind of access to the water is a huge mistake. And I talked to some of you about this. My brother and I clearly don't agree on this, but I think you made the right decision, the 3 of you that voted against even having a public hearing. You did the right thing because once you start closing accesses, you'd love to have the one next to your house closed, wouldn't you, Nancy? I'd love to have the one next to my house closed. But I mean, give me half that, give me 30 feet of that. I'll take it. But anyway, the agenda workshop, the negative impact on the seawall. You can answer this for me, maybe somebody can. Did they pick up the debris yesterday? Was supposed to be picked up yesterday?
They did pick up the debris yesterday. Unfortunately, there was an issue with the truck. It broke down and there were a couple of streets that they had to finish today.
Well, let me ask you this. If I have a pile of debris, branches and stuff like that, that I have put in a large trash can and have put that out at the street with the debris sticking up out of it, so you know what's in there. Should they pick that up? Should they dump that trash can or not?
They asked for it to be loose.
They want it to be loose. Okay.
They actually bring in a tractor.
Well, that answers my question on that. Okay. And then this is just a thought I've had with the tragic events out in Texas with people saying that they didn't get warning. I know we all have cell phones these days and, all kinds of electronic equipment, but we used to have a siren here that went off every day at noon. And I don't think we've had that siren for a good number of years. I wonder if we should look into having a siren again so that if there's a tornado or something like that, everybody would get, a warning. They can't come back and say, well, we didn't have a warning, like the people in Texas are saying. The warning system was not satisfactory because they didn't have sirens at that location. So, I think that would be something to consider. We're not going to have the flood like they had there, but we could have a tornado watches and stuff like that. So thank you.
30 seconds. I would suggest if you're gonna strike the, ban on vacation during probationary period, that what you could do is say during the first 90 days or 180 days of the probationary period, because to give somebody who's been here a month vacation, that sounds very loose versus, saying they can't take it in the first 90 days or 120 days or 180 days of their probationary period. Little compromise there.
Anyone else? Hey, board members. Start with you, John.
I enjoyed the mayor's minute this evening. So kudos to you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to the acting town manager. We're about to get out and it's still daylight. We will get to see a sunset tonight. So probably very tight, efficient, wonderful.
I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you a question on your reports. Are there any other town properties that we're not maintaining? We could just do a survey of some kind to make sure that we don't have this concern again.
We will. Put that on the radar.
The other thing is those beach umbrella signs, did we ever receive those or? 'Cause
No,
saw someone got hurt.
I did see that. He was on the news. I
Yeah.
clipped that, YouTube. No, I reached out to him twice now, followed up with him twice, and I haven't heard back from him. I felt like maybe he had bigger things going on in New Jersey, and maybe that's why.
He was pretty aggressive with spring, but I'll follow up
Okay.
as well. The third thing is, this new building, we assign people, 2 board members and a mayor to meet with the contractor. We ask that we get updates. It's been 2 months. I have not received one update on this new building. We went through the same process for 6 months last year, where after 6 months, we got information. And it wasn't received by the residents well, and it wasn't received by the board well. So you're having these meetings. Not everybody's aware of what's going on and being discussed. And I see the same format of the previous process again with, here's our options. Very disappointed. I thought we had it, we were gonna video it and stream it, we were gonna be able to ask questions. I have no idea if there's been a meeting. I have no idea how many meetings there's been. I have no idea what's been discussed, how far we've gone, what the process is. But I'm really disappointed because I thought we were gonna do a better job this time than we did the last 6 months trying to use this money for that building. Last thing, happy birthday, Sam.
Okay, Sam.
All right. Thanks everybody for coming out. I would like to tell you, we had a great meeting this time and a quick meeting. And that's got really kind of working for like the thing. Yeah. Yeah. So it can be ready. Yeah. Thank you. We got a great team. We got a great staff.
First, I'd like to offer congratulations to our new town manager, acting town manager for a little while yet. She's gonna do a great job. We are in very good hands. I'm excited. She agreed to take this meeting. And I'd also, just like to mention that, during these comments at the meeting last month, the two commissioners who were assigned to work with the Thomas Group about the new building had a meeting that day about the new building. And I reported on that during the meeting during this time, at last month's meeting, that we came out very encouraged about what was going to happen, that they're working hard on it. I didn't give any details of what they shared with it. I don't think that was appropriate for this particular time. We met again today with the Commons Group. We spent from 3:30 until you guys had to wait outside the door at 5:15, talking about very specific things that they have agreed to do on the new building. I've got 4 pages of notes here about that, and I would be happy to prepare these and distribute them, certainly to the other commissioners within the next day, about what the outcome of that meeting was. That's it.
Okay, mayors. I met this morning with DEM, who in essence are going to take over the Side Point next year. We have met with the whole staff to go over what our role might be in the future and what the state's role might be in the future. I think it was a very productive meeting that there were to know what can they do, and that was a really good thing. From Mike Christianberry, who operates the funding from CAMA, was on the meeting. He said, "We like what you're talking about. We like your budget, and we're here to help you." That's encouraging for us to have any improvement at all at the Side Point. Things are moving smoothly, and they're excited about taking this on, and they've got Fish and Wildlife working also all the time. So there may be some changes that go on as to how the site then is used. I know from their initial discussion is that the interior part of the site then will be protected. They're not looking to have people encroaching in that area. They say that's kind of off limits. So that's good to hear. The next, I guess, the building. Yes, we did meet today. It was a productive meeting, and we went from last month where we just finally got the 3 options saying we can't do this. We got to have a budget, and they were working toward a budget. Today they came in with a very schematic saying, "This is what you're going to get for that budget." And I think we gave them feedback, and it was good feedback. I think everybody walked away with a good chance. And I think John, I think we didn't have time to report because we don't know what we're reporting yet. And we fleshed out so we're not sending you something that's in error. But the budget is driving the development, and so that's being kept in mind.
Let me just add one thing. We talked a lot about the $9 million that we're authorized to spend, which is all the money that we got from the state plus some interest. We talked a lot about hitting that 9 million target, and they gave us a lot of things that they worked on. They're gonna come back with some possible add-ons at extra expense, which we may share and, let people say yes or no. But the final line was at $9 million, they said it can be done. So they're going to figure out how to do it. We may not get exactly what we would hope for in the $9 million, but they're going to find a way to give us a new building for $9 million.
And we told them we don't want a flat roof. Green out there.
Well, all is a deal killer.
Yeah.
No, again, I appreciate everyone coming tonight, all those viewing in. It's nice to Christina as the manager, and, I'm just so glad the last 4 months is over. And, let's get down to enjoying the beach and having fun again. So, thank you so much for being here.
All in favor? Aye.
Here's, I say, more that you have.